I'm Spencer Hansen. I'm the director over demand planning and supply chain analytics at doTERRA. Have you ever heard of doTERRA? We're an essential oils company that have a massive impact around the world with the essential oils that we sell, our health and wellness products. And I've been there for a little over 6 years now. I actually got my start at doTERRA in data analytics. I was working in Tableau. I was doing SQL, working with Snowflake, and really fell in love with the supply chain side of doTERRA because we have such a unique business case of what we do, in the sense that it is both we have a vertically integrated supply chain where we are growing, we're harvesting, we're planting the actual lavender plants and the peppermint trees or whatever they are. I'm not the actual guy, right? And we're working with farmers to really tell our co-impact story to make sure that we can sustainably source these gifts of the earth that we have, that we use. And so it's a lot of planning there that we have to, the best day to plant the tree was 10 years ago, but you got to start today. So we're planting these trees and plants, harvesting them, distilling their products, turning them into just world-class essential oils. And then on that side of it too, is we also have, we make our own products, we manufacture them in-house. And then we also work with third-party manufacturers where we take those oils and we infuse them into our supplements, or we infuse them into a wellness product, like a greens powder or, a fish oil or an E-omega supplement or something like that. So we have a really diverse kind of platform where we're utilizing the power of essential oils across all different wellness products. And it's just been a blast to be at doTERRA. So I've loved my job, and I've really just kind of worked through data and then found myself as, I need your shirt. I'm a supply chain nerd.
We'll get you one.
Through and through.
We'll get you one. Part of the giveaway.
Yeah. That's why I signed up to do this. It's
exactly.
just for the shirt.
Anybody's interested, come talk to us.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, that's been my journey at doTERRA, and it's just been a blast to especially literally last year that we've implemented Anaplan, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Game changer.
Yeah,
I love it. So when I love the whole vertically integrated supply chain. For those of you that don't have the pleasure of that, like it does add a whole nother level of sophistication. You talk about. If you talk about how do I deal with seasonality in demand planning, you have a totally different level of seasonality.
Yep.
Like when is the plant blooming? And
you're right, exactly. Harvest season, if we want it, we can only get it one time a year.
Yeah, right. It's really hard to level load seasons.
You got it.
Cool. Well, tell us a little bit, like as you got into doTERRA, you gave us a great little background, I think, on it already.
Sure.
But maybe just share a little bit more of the complexity of the business.
Yeah.
And when you think about the planning processes, what drove you to decide that you needed to actually go buy a new planning tool?
Yeah. So doTERRA is, definitely a storied history. We've been around for, I think 15 or 16 years. Started out as just people who wanted to make a business or make a difference with essential oils, who would come from different companies and things like that, and really wanted to tell a story with what doTERRA was doing, and really have landed on this really philanthropic effort of our tagline now, is that we help the world heal. We want to take these natural gifts of the earth, and that's what doTERRA means. It's a gift of the earth, do and terra. We want to utilize this to help people and to really make.
See, if you had told me that before, then I would have got them.
That's right. We're missing the little line.
Yeah, exactly.
That's over there. So anyway, we have these really great products. We've been selling them for a long time, and we've experienced really explosive growth over those 15 years. And it was easy back when we were growing to plan, because you just buy all of the things and they sell. And you don't need a demand plan, because the demand plan just needs to be this.
It's easy to find when you sell everything you make.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, as our business, started to level out, we started to make sure that we wanted to be more mature and we wanted to be more sustainable. We started thinking about, well, how can we sort of make that happen when my forecast isn't blind or it's just 10 numbers long? Yeah. I want to make a real forecast that we can support these products, because we have now we have about 8,000 finished goods SKUs that we sell across the globe over about 30 markets.
That's not simple.
Yeah. No, not at all. And that's grown, basically doubled in the last 5 years that we've been doing business. And so we want to make sure that all these products that are unique have the right plan behind them, that we're also, being responsible in what we work with our farmers and our partners and everything like that we're not just planting plants to throw them away or something like that. And so we were kind of thinking about doing that, and then COVID happened, right? There was just a big anomaly. And for us, COVID was actually a positive thing. It was a really great thing because everybody was stocking up on their doomsday oils for the end of the world. And
well, they were home to enjoy those oils.
That's right. Sorry, that's the right way. But no, and we also, we have a sanitizing mist and things like that. And so we saw really explosive growth again after COVID.
But personal care and mindfulness, I mean, it did become a bigger deal.
It was a big thing.
Needed a,
yeah. And so, but after that peak didn't stay.
Right.
And so it was, oh, okay, we were kind of thinking about that, but then it was back into scramble mode because we were growing so much. And then it's like, okay, now how do we level out? How do we make sure that we can be sustainable after that? And that's kind of where about 3 years ago or so that I kind of entered into this, the demand planning world and the supply planning world. Was kind of after that, we were kind of looking at that, and you'll see some graphs up here later, but kind of looking at that impact. But it was, how is it that we're going to make this happen? How is it that we're going to effectively build a demand planning platform to manage the complexity of our supply chain? We had SAP, we still have SAP, but it was a really expensive calculator in all reality, right? We were using it, wasn't really doing anything, and there wasn't that advanced planning capabilities. And so it was actually about 2 years ago, or about a year ago, myself and another colleague, that we were kind of tasked to figure out the next phase of technology.
So this was the evaluation.
Yeah, this evaluation part. In December, we went to a Gartner conference, and we realized we were woefully behind the curve in terms of technology. People weren't even asking the questions that we wished they were asking the questions we wished we could have asked, but they were too far ahead of us. And so that's where we kind of started thinking about, well, what should we do? We have SAP, we don't want to replace SAP. We still have some transaction things like that. Our business is built on it, but we need a way to not plan in Excel anymore, to not plan in spreadsheets. Because I tried my best to build the coolest spreadsheet you've ever thought about, and it was pretty cool. But it was not scalable in any way, shape, or form. It couldn't happen. And so we realized we needed something new. And so we started thinking about, oh, there's this advanced planning capabilities. Let's start working and meeting with different people. We met with Anaplan, we met with a handful of different industry leading partners that were out there. And really landed on Anaplan for what it was that they had, because myself, coming from data, being a supply chain nerd, I wanted to get in under the hood, into the nuts and bolts. I didn't want to just have some little box that people were saying, oh, it's pretty good, and you have to come to talk to us. We loved what Anaplan had to offer. In terms of both, there was accelerators that were there, right? You guys didn't have apps yet, but I mean, that would have been a big story back then. But we wanted that flexibility to build it to make sure that our business could happen. So that's where basically on this timeline here at May, we made the plunge into going with Anaplan.
Jumped in. Okay. And I know we've got a few slides to get into this too, but tell us about the implementation. So you spent 6 months evaluating, you spent 4 months implementing.
Yes.
Love that.
But that was only because they were slow. Internally, we were slow.
I know. It's always the running joke. People are like, no, we're in such a hurry. We're in a huge hurry. I'm going to spend a year and a half evaluating it.
Right.
Double checking it. And then I've got to go live in 4 months.
That's right.
No problem.
That's right.
You can do that with Anaplan.
That's right.
So tell us about the implementation and the adoption phase. Like, what did that look like?
Yeah.
What helped you go that fast? I mean, look, I've done a lot of implementations, and Anaplan is very flexible and adaptable, but just from a change perspective and a data perspective, 16 weeks is fast.
Oh yeah. It was definitely fast, but we were ready for it. Luckily, like I said, we'd kind of spent a lot of prep time beforehand, and we'd spent a lot of time building out a really robust data warehouse inside of Snowflake. And so we felt ready to leverage that data and that technology that was there. So we didn't have to spend, that was part of the reason why our implementation could be fast, was because we felt ready from a data side to make it happen. But I'll have to make the plug. The Carta guys are here. We had an amazing implementation partner. Where are you? If you know them, Carta, right? We had an amazing implementation partner in helping us get there, because Anaplan is amazing from a tool perspective, but it's like, you can do anything. right? And we needed to make sure that we were finding those best practices. We were leveraging the tool the right way, and really our success and our speed that we've seen with Anaplan, I attribute so much to the Carta team. So if you guys are looking or doing anything like that, there's my plug for them. They really are best in class. It was amazing. And so we kind of met. We sat down and said, okay, these are the things we wanted to do. They appropriately cautioned us to not boil the ocean because we kind of wanted to. So it's like, no, let's focus in on demand planning and supply planning. Those seem to be your biggest problems. And this is, some of the capabilities we can do. And so we just hit the ground running there.
I love it.
And so that's where it kind of went through the implementation phase. And then luckily, because we had been ready and we'd been prepped from an adoption standpoint, internally, my demand planning and supply planning team, they were ready to go. I'd tortured them enough for the last 2 years that they were ready to burn the spreadsheets. They were ready to jump into a new platform that was Anaplan. And we had a sprint week, two sprint weeks where we locked ourselves in a room. We did training. We made sure that we cleansed the forecast. We did all that different stuff. But so adoption internally was really easy for us, for my team, but that we knew that one of the other challenges that was going to be out there was adoption for the rest of the company, right? As a supply chain, we're all connected.
Extended collaborators.
Yeah, exactly. We got to make sure we're talking with our sourcing team, with our procurement team, with the product development team, with marketing, people like that are, hey, sure, you guys know that we do the forecasting numbers, but how is this going to change? And so we actually took it on ourselves to kind of do a roadshow where we put together some stuff, and it was just like, hey, this is what Anaplan is. This is what we can do. This is what's happening. And so we just met with the different stakeholders to just make sure they felt bought in. And even if they weren't necessarily in Anaplan, they were at least informed that they knew this change was coming and hopefully was going to be for the better. It wasn't going to be for the worst.
I love this story. And we have a slide. I'm going to skip to it.
Sure.
Because, I guess we're all in sales to some degree, right? But I think what Spencer did here, like going on this roadshow, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a slide or one of the slides that you were presenting internally to the team. Not made for you guys, but sure to you guys. Like here's what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is the impact. And I think it's a great example of getting into the weeds and talking their language. You've hit it on a lot, but with the engineering team and with the product team, product lifecycle planning, how do I phase in the new product? How do I manage those pieces? I think is a great way to speak their language and get them on board to understand the value of doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things that kind of came out of this roadshow with that. We met with the product management team, and I don't know, I think, it's this middle one here where it's talking about this ability to link new and old transitioning products together. That was a big pain point for us at doTERRA. We had regular revving of, product lifecycle changes, or there was a legal change or formula change or something like that. And so we're changing SKUs, and it was so hard to link that demand plan together, especially in an Excel-based model, or even in SAP, there wasn't necessarily a capability that we had to do that. And that was one of the biggest selling points that I remember talking. It was actually at this conference last year, sitting with, I think, with our account rep and with the Carta folks, and just saying, oh man, you guys, we can do that in Anaplan. Like, that's going to be amazing. That's going to be such a game changer for us to be able to link that together. And so as we met with the product development team, we showed that too. And they're like, oh, wait, you guys can do that? Oh, we need to collaborate with you more to make sure that we can link up new products with you. And they're like, well, what happens if the SKU isn't set up in SAP yet? And we're like, don't worry.
All the time.
There's a solution for that in Anaplan. We have a placeholder that we set up. You guys give us these basic dimensionality, right, of what we need to do. We'll put that in. We'll create the plan in there. And then when we're ready to go and it's set up in SAP, we do a little merge process. Boom, off you go. It's off and running. And so just sharing that piece, like, even though that wasn't necessarily, they weren't responsible necessarily for creating the demand plan and managing that in SAP, that instantly drove collaboration to show, so that they knew we at least had the capabilities when they were ready to lob that ball to us, we could catch it and keep running.
It's interesting. You talked about the data lake and getting the data structure in place, which is a huge advantage and a challenge for lots of our customers. And I think, that pre-work always pays off. I think the other piece that probably spins out of the same example is, even when you've done all of that, there often is sort of supply chain master data this sort of like, mapping of new products, for example, or the pre-launch of a product that you have to start planning for before it's actually set up in SAP.
Yeah.
These kind of things happen all the time.
Right.
And I think Anaplan, as Adam Tier was talking about this morning, like that foundation around data management and the ability not only to bring together the different systems, but also to be able to actually be a source system of truth for that master data. Have a process around it, and you can use the workflow if you need to. Like, you can tie those guys all in, and then that becomes the solution where you manage it. I think happens way more often than people appreciate in planning. And a lot of the legacy tools are like, but if it's not coming from a source tool, I can't have it. Now now I got to go change SAP, and I try and get somebody to actually put it in SAP, and they never do that. And
Or they do it wrong.
So it plays out. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go back because I skipped this one.
Sure.
This was just a little bit around kind of high level architecture, and you've kind of hit on these highlights in the earlier conversation, but it sounds like the majority of our data came from Snowflake, but you did have some direct data from SAP, inbound and outbound, as part of the connected process.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what this is directly. I mean, I made this slide as part of our kind of roadshow thing, but what I wanted to do when we were talking to people about it was just try to boil it down. I mean, it's obviously more complex than this is a very boiled down version. But what I wanted to make sure, especially for the diehard SAP fans that we had in our supply chain world, that our intention wasn't to replace SAP. It wasn't like, this is the new thing and it's the new tool, and then in 5 years we're going to change to a new ERP system. And it's, I was like, no. We're here to just, SAP will help do our core MRP functionality.
We're doing planning.
Yeah, we're going to live on top of that. We're going to make sure the only thing that Anaplan is the master of is the forecast, is what the forecast is. And so that was kind of reassuring that, like, we still need data from SAP, but a lot of the data, because of our IT infrastructure, it's not all in SAP. And that's where Snowflake comes in for us to be able to bring in all of that stuff into the data warehouse, the data lake, where all of the disparate systems that aren't necessarily in this structural ERP transactional system for SAP, we can get from Snowflake. And then together that flows into the data hub, where we have sitting ready to go. And then we populate that, into the Anaplan, the actual planning module, where we're going in and we're making those changes. We're doing the forecast. We're, cleansing historical data. We're doing all that jazz and making that happen. And then the final piece that's here is that the only thing that Anaplan is doing is outputting to SAP, because again, that it's the master. SAP is the master of everything else besides the forecast. All Anaplan does is do that. And so that was a big part of change management, just like letting people know that we weren't just coming in with a bulldozer to destroy legacy systems. It was to help enrich and to enhance that process. And then everything else, there's a lot of great capabilities from an analytical perspective that I truly love inside of Anaplan. There's even stuff that's better than Tableau, like some of the reports, some of the functionality that's there. But the big thing is that our user base with Tableau is broad and massive. Anaplan is very specific. And so we can't just build all the reports into Anaplan. And so since we were already kind of a Tableau shop, we take the rest of all of that data, all of this really rich, enhanced, really crispy data out of Anaplan. We put it into Tableau so that way we can share it with people that aren't just inside of the supply chain world.
No, I love it. I think that's great. I think this is pretty common. I think this is also an area where we're in the process of announcing some options for customers to make it really easy to extend the Anaplan out to the passive users in a way that's very cost effective. Because we do appreciate that. Look, you've got a lot of people using Tableau, but if they could have the real-time data out of Anaplan in a format that was as good or better, there's interesting options there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna get into forecasting. Maybe we'll come back to the promo calendar. You've talked about demand planning, but I love the fact that you're thinking already, even before you get into next steps. How do I integrate things like promo calendars and things that are going to impact demand into the overall cycle? So let's talk about some of the areas that got delivered as you guys went live.
So if we think back to the slide, right, we were at Anaplan Connect, made the kind of decision last year in May-ish or so, went live in June. We started implementation in June, and then we cut over where we burned the spreadsheets. They were no more. We weren't doing a forecast in those anymore. And our first live load into SAP for our production or for the forecast of all 8,000 of our SKUs across all of our 30 markets was November 1st.
I love that.
And it was
Scary.
it was a little scary. It was a little scary, but we did it, and it was so seamless. One of the other things too that was, I'm just going to make this plug, the automation that happened before loading the forecast into SAP was literally a 2-day long process, and it would regulate error out, and it was all complicated and things like that. Now we don't even have to do anything. It just outputs from Anaplan, and it just goes, and we don't have to do anything. And so it's like it removed that barrier where people would have to sit at their computer and they basically couldn't do anything because SAP had locked up things. It sounds like I'm ragging on SAP. SAP is really great, but it doesn't quite have some of the capabilities that Anaplan can have. But it was really massive there. And so we went live. So since November 1st, we've been using Anaplan for our productionalized forecast, and have been all of our purchasing signals, everything like that has been driven from what's coming from Anaplan.
I love it.
And so since kind of the things that we've added in here, when it comes to the efficiencies that have come from Anaplan, when I kind of took over the team, it was you just had to throw bodies. It either had to be people inside the spreadsheets making stuff happen. There was really no scalability. There was no efficiency to be gained other than adding more people to handle more SKUs and more markets.
Yes. Can only find so many.
Yeah,
manually.
it was impossible. But since then, we've not only has, like I said, we basically have doubled our SKU and our complexity in the products that we sell over the last 3 or so years. So we've added more things that we have to manage. We've added more markets in which we sell it. But then we've actually been able to reduce naturally the number of planners we have to have managing that. And so previously, old planners would maybe manage 300 to 400 SKUs by themselves. Now they average about 1,000 SKUs that they effectively manage. So that's kind of on this efficiency side. So it's just a massive boon for our individual demand planners that they feel empowered to be able to do that. You know, the exception-based reporting
planning
that comes in there is such a big win. But on top of that, where is forecast accuracy? So you add in all of that complexity, more SKUs, more markets, less planners, but somehow we increase our forecast accuracy by 20%. Like
20% is a lot too.
That's a big, big.
I know we're going to get a little bit more detail on that, but that's a great win.
It's been crazy. So it's like all of those, that math doesn't necessarily math in my head. Like you make it more challenging with less people. Like, well, then you just have to have some magic behind the curtain. Well, yeah, we kind of do. And
that's part of the efficiency too is you get more time to focus on the stuff that have the problems too, right? So you're instead of just getting it done, you're doing it intelligently. So I think it sounds like that even with the math of the number of items that people are planning, great, it increases, but they can actually spend more time
where it matters,
actually analyzing the data and getting it right too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from there, right, okay, as someone who lives in forecasting, making a forecast being more accurate is obviously super important, but what is that actual impact on the business? And that's where we see some of this stuff where are being able to really optimize their inventory. Obviously, it starts where the conductors of the supply chain. We got to make stuff happen. The rest of the supply chain is kind of going off the beat of our drum, right? And so, even though we've just barely started with Anaplan over since November, we've been able to see automatically a reduction in purchases because now our forecasts are more accurate. So you don't have to buy as much or as little, right? Or you're buying more of the products, the right products, like we were talking about in the keynote, right? And less of the wrong products, which is a big increase to cash flow. So that's just already seeing that is such a massive impact. It's such a big impact. But I don't even think we've seen the full impact yet because our lead times are really long, right?
For sure.
So it's like I could
make the iceberg right now.
I could make a forecast today, and we might not actually do anything. We might have to purchase on that. We haven't made a decision off of that. We won't see the impact for a year or something like that. But I at least have a lot of confidence in that we're going in the right direction because I know that we've seen these really quick increases in forecast accuracy that give me confidence. Is like, well, if it's this accurate, right now, then hopefully we should be able to feel confident in the forecast going forward that when we have these long-term plans, we're making the right decisions as well.
We talk a lot about change management and tracking metrics. Clearly, you guys are tracking those metrics. I'll go to the next slide because I think it's awesome. But I think when you kick these kinds of programs off, getting buy-ins, bringing people through the process like you talked about to sort of they're not just buying in at the very end, they're buying in throughout the entire cycle. But setting some goals and having some key metrics that you're tracking, institutionalizing those metrics and tracking your performance against them over time, not only like helps with proving the value of the spend that you helped make with Anaplan, but makes your finance team feel good about it all. But it also like the team feels better. Like, well, look, we're making improvements. Here's the value we're delivering, right? So I think it's a win-win all around.
Yeah, absolutely. From a morale perspective, it really is a night and day difference from the demand planners of they feel invested in, and it goes a long way, right? You have to have great people, and you have to have people that are happy and excited about that stuff. But results are the things that matter. So this is a graph that shows our forecast accuracy over time, all the way back to 2020, up until the little star is cut off, which is the most important part. But basically, that was the last, I think that very, very last point at the end of here is the February actuals.
Last 2 quarters kind of thing.
Yeah, it's either February or March actuals from this year relative to our forecast back there. So you can see when it comes to, as I was kind of telling that story, our forecast, COVID was basically impossible to forecast. It was,
especially at the beginning of COVID.
It was crazy, but also we didn't necessarily know how to react to it, because it was like, are we going to do this forever?
Is the world going to end, or is it going to go up forever? It's sort of like, first, like, nobody's buying anything, then everybody's buying everything.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really difficult to do that. And so that was where that big kind of drop came in, we kind of get into the 2021s. But really, I think the more important graph, or the more important story that this graph helps to tell, is we toiled in Excel and in spreadsheets for basically that drop in 2021 or so to up until then. And I worked my guts out to try to make it better. It was blood, sweat, and tears that we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. We think that we're super smart and we're going to figure it out in Excel. And sure, all of that work over 3 years.
3 years looks like 10%.
Basically 10% improvement.
Which, I mean, honestly, you're making good progress.
But I remember looking at research and seeing, when it comes to a retail company, typically an industry standard MAPE is around or less than 20%. So that was the goal that I had for my team.
We wanted, especially for like Clorox and things like that are like run rate stuff.
Right, exactly. So I was like, that's where we want to get to. That's what we need to. And we set goals year over year that we're going to do it this year, and we're going to make this stuff, and we're going to have it happen. But it just wasn't a fight we could win with the capabilities of our current technology stack. It was just impossible. As smart or as cool or talented as we thought we were, we just kind of existed, slowly improving the status quo that didn't necessarily make any difference. And so that's where it was so easy when we kind of saw the technology and saw what was out there, meeting with Anaplan. It's like, well, obviously we need to leverage the statistical forecasts that are in here. And it's a joke kind of on our team that we have our favorite statistical models. We love multi-log decomp. There's battles between additive decomp and all this different stuff. We're like, oh, no, this is better and that's better. And it's just like, it's great to see the team that are bought in and they're learning about these things.
I love that.
Because it really, these models fit so well with our business when we're going back to seasonality, right? That make it easy to let it's kind of a paradigm shift where it's not about making a forecast. I'm literally plugging in a number for every single month and every single day or whatever it is. It's a shift to, how is it that I'm curating and taking care of the data that's pumping into this model, removing those outliers, trusting the system, and using the exception-based messaging to really showcase the power of Anaplan. And then you kind of set that and then let the model do its thing. And that's where, again, the efficiencies come from. And so as you can see here, right, it was basically, we were close to maybe breaching into the 30s. And then basically the last, as soon as Anaplan turned on, it was like, hey, you almost did it. So it's
we're going to have to come back and do like a year refresh. I expect like mid-teens.
That is a stretch goal for us. We believe we can do it.
I love it.
I love it. Plan.
It's a great story. Let's talk a little bit about the roadmap. I think that the journey has been amazing. We've talked a lot about forecast rate play, inventory planning. Like, so now it's, how do you make sure you get the right place in the right part, the right place at time? The right part at the right place on time.
You got it.
And now you're getting into promotion planning. You hit on that a little bit. So actually managing promotions and how that's going to impact the demand cycle.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where, we're leaving a lot of Anaplan just does our finished goods right now.
Okay.
It doesn't go to the component
No
level
direct
and
material planning.
nothing like that right now, because again,
Yep.
we consider that, but we didn't want to boil the ocean.
Yep.
But inventory planning,
Good advice.
basically, we're kind of checking that and making sure that from a finished good level in the markets that we support,
Yeah.
how can we kind of report and see that and make sure that happens?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what the piece that's happening with inventory. But for doTERRA, what's really unique with us is we have a really, I don't know if robust, maybe chaotic or large volume promotion planning. We do a ton of promotion.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's a big part of our demand plan, right? Anaplan does a great job of prepping that baseline forecast, but when you add in all the sales and all these different things that happen like that, promotion planning adds that volatility. And so what we were doing previously is we had kind of a homegrown solution for a promotion calendar kind of planning app that we were feeding into Anaplan. And it was just a line item.
That's what's in there right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But what we decided to do is we realized the capabilities and the flexibility of Anaplan was like, oh, we can definitely do this whole process in Anaplan.
Yeah, natively.
And so we didn't just take what we currently had. We said, we know all of these things and all of these problems that we wished that we could fix, but because it was a homegrown solution, we just didn't have the capabilities to do that. And we just threw everything in the kitchen sink and said, we're going to make the promo calendar the greatest thing ever. And we are we're going to go live June 2nd with it. It's been a 10-week implementation.
Okay.
There's a 5 billion booleans inside of the process, I think so, which as Anaplan users, you guys are going to know that's just par for the course, right?
Yeah, totally. Only 5 billion?
Yeah.
That seems like nothing.
But anyway, the biggest thing that's going to change this is that now we're really getting to that connected planning detail, right? Where it's not just the demand planners, but we're actually giving the market reps who who make their plans. We're also grabbing the finance controllers, are the ones who approve those promotions. Yes. We're bringing them in and we're putting them kind of in this sandbox that's saying, hey, you want to do this promotion? You type that in, it hooks right back into our demand and inventory planning model. And all of a sudden it tells them your margin isn't right. Your cost isn't right.
We don't have enough inventory.
We don't have enough inventory. If you do this promotion, you will stock out afterwards.
We have lots of inventory for your promotion.
Or you have made this promotion plan and you want to cancel it, but we already made all the inventory. So please don't do that, right? It's all these exceptions that happen that it basically makes these checks. Or another one, historically, this promotion, you're kind of repeating a promotion that you're really ambitious with your sales forecast here. Maybe temper the waters.
Hit the numbers last
time. Yeah. Maybe bring that down. So there's basically a finance-based exceptions, there's demand-based exceptions, and then there's supply-based exceptions. So the actual sales or marketing people, when they're going in live, they can see that data and it will be like, oh, maybe I can't do that. So rather than waiting around and saying, oh, I'm going to send out an email to this person, that person, the other one, wait a week, see if people approve. We've built that whole approval process, and that not even just the approval process, but that information right front and center. Where if they're like, oh, I can't do lemon, I'm going to do peppermint. Oh, you can do peppermint, and they can change that.
So
and then
dynamically sort of scenario model which one they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And they can swap that out. They can make those changes. And then when they're ready to go, they make that submission process. And then we use workflow to dynamically just approve it across the approvers in the supply chain and across the finance controllers. And then that feeds into the model. And then if they want to change it, it's just all right there. So it's a really bespoke solution to what doTERRA really needed, because that's a big part of our business. And that's where I just love the flexibility of Anaplan, because it's like, could you go out to any other software and like make that work for your business? I don't know of one of the solutions. Could you maybe custom build it using Python and R like we were doing? Sure. But is it in your integrated process that's making that happen? And it was a lot of work, and it took a lot of genius from our side, from our implementation partners, again for Carta, plug for them, to make it happen. But we're so excited with the product that we have, and it's going to be such a massive game changer.
We love it. And I think that flexibility to fit your business at the pace that you're at too, I think is really critical. And I mean, you hit on apps, we've talked about them. They don't replace that ability to really derive the piece you need. So apps, might accelerate a little bit. Frankly, you were pretty fast. might give you some things you don't have, or things that you say, look, I don't need all that yet. Let's turn it on later down the road. But I love it. It's a great story, and I love the connected vision. And then you're getting into DRP.
Yeah, exactly. And so
next.
that's the last part. We're going to start that as soon as we're done with the promo calendar part. And that's, if you don't know what DRP is, it's down to the site balancing, or making sure that our warehouses and our larger markets have the inventory as they support everything like that. So that's a little bit smaller piece but again, it's kind of one of those things that's like, could we do it in SAP? Maybe. We've toiled with it. It was like, well, if you want to, then you've got to SAP has that functionality, but you got to buy like the whole enchilada if you want it. And we don't want that sort of thing. And so this one's going to be a little bit faster. But just again, taking these little pieces that we started with, this kind of part of our supply chain, and then we're building on the rest of the chains that kind of link together to make sure that we have a more robust model. And this is our current roadmap. I mean, sky's the limit to what we can do.
Well, I mean, I love the fact
it's been amazing.
PPM, you're already kind of sneaking into finance, sneaking into marketing and sales too. And those people they'll drink the Kool-Aid like you and move on.
Hopefully, let's try to convince them.
Yeah, totally. You're not passionate about it, though.
No, not at all.
Not at all. I do have something for you.
Oh, I can't.
Emily's going to share it to you. Captain Anaplan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Appreciate it.